Well, good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to see everybody, and it is my absolute pleasure this morning to introduce you guys to a very special guest, a fellow Mustang, an individual who is very well accomplished at whatever he puts his mind to. And in fact, as you can see right behind me with one of the books that he's authored, he's going to challenge everybody to a number of things here this morning. And one of the biggest things he's going to challenge us all to do is to dream big. Those dreams might mean different things to many different people here in our audience. But one of the things that you'll see is that he's going to set his mind to a number of different goals during the course of his lifetime. And he's going to reach them. He's going to accomplish them. And some of his dreams might seem to be the unthinkable. How could you do something like run all the way from Medford, Massachusetts, across the United States to Medford, Oregon? How do you do that? Well, this gentleman here, who's a fellow Mustang, is an individual that has done the unthinkable. That is just one of the many different accomplishments that he has dreamed during the course of his life. He's dreamed it, but he's accomplished it. And I know that by knowing many of you people here in this audience here today, we have many awesome dreamers in this audience that are being supported by your friends, your family, your teachers to accomplish the unthinkable on your own behalf. So I want to introduce you to Mr. Dave McGilvery, who has a very inspiring and powerful message, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome him back to the McGlynn Middle School. Let's give him a great welcome.
Thank you so much. First of all, I just have to say to all of you folks in this auditorium that I've been very fortunate to give over 1,900 motivational talks throughout the entire United States over the last 40 years. But every time I come back to where it all started, here in Medford, my hometown, it really means an awful lot to me to be able to be here among all of you, because for me, as I said, this is where it all started. Medford made me who I am today. And I like the motto about Medford starts with me, M-E, because even though I don't live in Medford anymore, I still feel like I'm grounded in Medford, and this is, for me, my hometown. So thank you very much, Mr. Tucci, for giving me the opportunity to come back to where it all started. Anyone here in the audience, anyone here run? Raise your hand. Oh, that's cool. All right, anyone walk? All right. What are the rest of you doing? Eat and sleep all day? Yeah, okay. How about this? Anyone here going to run the Boston Marathon next year? Raise your hands. Yeah, let's give a round of applause to the teachers who are running for the Crystal Campbell Foundation. That's pretty cool. So listen, when I was little here, growing up in Medford, I was little, as you can see. But I had big dreams. And for me, it all started out that I wanted to be one thing and one thing only. Anyone here play sports on teams? That's what I wanted. Right at your age, here in Medford, I wanted to be an athlete. I wanted to play second base for the Boston Red Sox so badly. I wanted to play guard for the Celtics so badly. But unfortunately for me, it wasn't meant to be, because I had a challenge. And my challenge was, well, you can see it, I was vertically challenged. So I was always the last one cut from the teams, and always the last one picked when my friends picked sides. And I learned a valuable lesson at your exact age. I learned about the concept of rejection. Rejection. Now, there's three types of pains in the world I live in: physical, mental, and emotional. Physical, you can train for. Mentally, you can train for your mind. But emotionally, man, it just whacks you. It whacks you really hard. And for me, to be rejected, to not have the feeling of not being wanted was really tough. So I didn't dream when I was your age of being a race director. I dreamed about being an athlete. Now that's my head on Larry Bird's body on the Celtics. But that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be on the basketball court playing hoop. But it wasn't meant to be, unfortunately. However, I did play Little League here in Medford and Babe Ruth League. I made those teams. Why? Because they didn't cut you from those teams. Everybody who went out made the team. So I played for the Tigers, right near here. I played for, Babe Ruth. So that was great for me. But unfortunately, in high school, it wasn't meant to be. So here's a little video of my friends picking sides.
1, 2, 3, shoot!
That's really where it all started.
Correct.
The first person picked was the best, and the last one picked was the worst. I had to go home every day with that feeling. I said, how do I overcome this? How do I prove to them that I'm not the worst, that I am good?
So that was tough to overcome. So here's a picture. Maybe some of the teachers in the room might even know some of these people in the picture. Here's a picture of my high school basketball team, 1972. So, especially you sitting up front, which one is me in this picture? You can point one out. Anyone? Yeah. Most people say bottom left, right? Which one? No, none of them are me. I got cut. That's the problem. I'm not in the picture. So the coach, right over there, top right-hand side, and he's no, Wilt Chamberlain himself. He comes up to me, puts his arm around me, looked down at me. Everyone looked down at me. He said, Dave, if you were 5 inches taller, you'd be my starting guard. I said, Coach, that had to do with ability level, not how tall you were. So I challenged the senator 101 to 21, number 30. He was 6.5. I was 5.4, 0.387 on a good day. And I beat him. And I threw the ball off the court, right around your age now. Think about that. And I said to myself, I will never, ever, ever allow anyone to tell me I'm not good enough, that I don't belong. So I went home that night, and I put a sign over my bed. There's signs everywhere in our lives. You go out the door, there's signs everywhere. And this is the sign I put over my bed. Please, God, make me grow. But obviously, maybe he was on vacation. He was answering someone else's prayers. But he didn't make me grow. Or did he? And I finally realized, son of a gun, he did make me grow. He made me grow in so many other ways. He made me grow morally and ethically and spiritually and mentally, intellectually. He made me grow internally. Because that's where it's happening. It's who you are inside, not who you are physically. So what did I start to do? I want to be an athlete. I just got to take a different path. Because there's always a path if there's passion. So I started to run. Because nobody can cut you from running. You just run. Bye-bye. And I've run about 150,000 miles since then. Here I am, Medford High School, running an indoor track meet. I was an athlete. So then I started all kinds of different physical challenges for myself. When I was 12 years old, growing up here in Medford, I lived in the Heights, and I ran 6 miles around Spot Pond on my 12th birthday. I went home, had cake and ice cream, said, I gotta burn this off, and went back to Spot Pond, ran around again. I ran 12 miles on my 12th birthday, right here in Medford. Thought that was pretty cool. When I turned 13, I ran 13, 14, 14, 15, 15. Then when I turned 54, I started the finish line of the Boston Marathon, ran to the start, turned around, ran to the finish, and ran into Fenway Park in front of 35,000 people running into Fenway Park. And I did it for the benefit of the Jimmy Fund. And the Jimmy Fund is the fundraising arm of the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. And I wanted to do it for them, for those kids. And I did. When I turned 60, I ran 60 miles on my 60th birthday. People say to me all the time, what the heck are you going to do when you turn 90? I said, well, I don't know. But I have a motto in my life, and this is it right here. It's my game, so it's my rules. Same with you. It's your life to live as you see fit. Whatever you want to do, guess what? You can do it. It's just a matter of making the commitment, earning the right, and getting out there and doing it. Listen, when I was growing up in Medford, I never did anything bad to myself. No drinking, no drugs, no nothing. Why? Because I felt like, this is mine. I'm not going to destroy it. At school, I was very fortunate. I was valedictorian of my high school class at Medford. I was valedictorian of my college class at Merrimack College. Not because I was the smartest kid. I wasn't, and I'm not. It was just because I had a hard work ethic. I knew that I wanted to get the most out of the time I was there, because probably I'll never be back. You know how fortunate all of you are to be here? I mean, some days I'm sure you wake up and say, I don't want to go to school. You know how many kids around the world who would die to be in your shoes, to come to school, to have that opportunity, to have these wonderful teachers and have great parents and mentors and coaches? Take advantage of it. I never missed a day of school. Ever. Elementary, middle, high school, college. Never missed a day of school. Again, I wanted to get the most out of it. My game, my rules. Then I heard about this thing called the Boston Marathon. I was 17 years old. I was a senior in Method High School. And I called up my grandfather, who was a supporter of my athleticism. I said, Grandpa, I'm going to go run that race in Boston. He goes, oh, they call that the Boston Marathon. I said, oh, well, that's a good name for it. I'm going to run it. He said, okay, I'll meet you at the 24-mile point. I said, okay, fine. My brother told me to start. I took off. I'm running. I get to the hills in Newton, about 19 miles, and bam, down I go, flat out. There's my grandfather. I dropped out in the hills in Newton. I got taken to the Newton Wellesley Hospital in an ambulance. I got home. I called my grandfather. No answer. Called him again. No answer. Finally, 9 o'clock at night, he answers the phone. I said, Grandpa, where have you been? He said, Dave, where have you been? I've been waiting all night for you. The old guys go by. Street sweepers go by. No Dave. I said, I know, I quit. He said, you what? I said, I quit. He said, nah, you didn't quit. I said, I didn't. What'd I do? He said, you learned. I said, great. What did I learn? He said, you learned that you cannot go along in life and set reckless goals. You had no business being in that race. I said, you're right. He says, I'll cut you another deal. I said, what? He said, you train is a novelty. You train for it. I'll be waiting for you next year. I said, deal. 2 months later, my grandfather died. My grandfather died. I said, I gotta do this. Again, I'm right here in Medford, running around Spot Pond, running around all these streets, training for the Boston Marathon. 1973, I was running 120, 130 miles a week. I was ready to go, and the day before the race, I got sick. My parents said, you can't run. I said, I have to run. The newspapers are saying, Dave running in memory, that's the Medford Mercury. Saying, Dave running in memory of your grandfather. I said, I have to do this. They said, you can't, you're too sick. I said, can you give me something that very few other people have given me before? They said, what's that? I said, a chance. That's all I want in life. It's just a chance. Let me determine what happens, but give me a chance. So they said, fine. And they drove me to the start, and I took off, and I'm running. And I get to 5 miles. I said, this is awful. I was just, there was nothing in the tank, and I kept going. Finally, I got to the halfway point, and I see my parents on the side of the road. And there's my mother standing on the side of the road. What's she doing? She's crying. Why? Because that's what mothers do. They cry. Why? Because they're worried about you. They're going through more pain than you'll ever go through. That's how much they care about you. I knew they cared so much for me. And there's my father. What's he doing? He's taking pictures of my mother crying, you know. I keep going. I got to the point where I dropped out the year before doing a survivor's shuffle over the hills. Finally, I got to 21.5, and bam, down I go again. Dropped out again. Now, I want to be an athlete here in Medford. I'm the last one picked, the last one cut, drop out of my first Boston Marathon, drop out of my second Boston Marathon. I got my head in my hands. What am I thinking? I'm a loser. That's what's going through my head. Emotionally. That's a tough one. Emotionally, right? All of a sudden, a defining moment happens. And I'm sitting on the curb right there, 21 and a half. And I look behind me and I saw this. And that's my grandfather's tombstone. He's buried in the Evergreen Cemetery. The Evergreen Cemetery, ironically, is right on the Boston Marathon course at 21.5. I didn't know that. And that son of a gun said he'd be there waiting for me. There he is. Maybe he's not there physically, because it's not all about the physical person. We just got talking about that. He's there spiritually. He kept his end of the deal. I'm keeping mine. And I picked myself up and I finished in 4.5 hours. And I said to myself, I'm going to run this race every year for the rest of my life in honor and tribute to the lesson my grandfather taught me about earning the right to do these things. And I did. So my motto is, the comeback is always stronger than the setback. We all have setbacks. Every day's not a good one. Every day's not a good one. But it's going to make you stronger for the next one. Okay? For the next one. So I ran the marathon for 15 years in a row, and all of a sudden I got offered the job to direct it. And I was like, what do? Do I run in it or run it? Like, I wasn't sure what to do. And I said, I need the money, I'll take the job. So I took the job. And that year, 1988, I directed the marathon. And I was standing at the finish line, high-fiving everyone, and I said, oh, this doesn't feel good. Why? Because I'm an athlete. I want to run this thing. So I tapped the state police trooper on the shoulder. I said, officer, do me a favor. He said, what? I said, will you drive me back to the start? He goes, why, did you forget something? I said, yeah, I got to run. So he said, get in. He drove me to the start, 8 o'clock at night. I finished at 11 o'clock at night, dead last. I don't care. My name's not in the record book. I finished the marathon on that day, last. And I have finished the marathon, same thing, dead last, for the last 32 years in a row. Because I wanted to keep my commitment. So I've run it the last 47 years in a row. And then a friend of mine had biked across America from Medford, Mass to Medford, Oregon. I thought, if he can bike across, I can run across. An idiotic idea that is. Biking and running are a little different. But I said, no, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to run from Medford, Oregon to Medford, Massachusetts. So I did. 3,452 miles. Averaged almost 50 miles a day. That's 2 marathons a day for 80 straight days without a day off. That's what I said. So I trained for 4 years. And I went out and I did it. And I was working at the John Hancock Tower at the time, and I saw a sign out in right field at Fenway Park. It said, help make a dream come true. Support the Jimmy Fund. And I said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to support the Jimmy Fund. So I went in to the Jimmy Fund clinic when I saw those kids, and I knew at the time that the battle that I was about to fight by running over 5.5 million footsteps across America was in no way as difficult as the battle that these kids are fighting for their own life. That's not fair. Why are they sick and I'm not? Well, I'm going to help. I'm going to help these kids. Here's 2 little kids, Jimmy Fund kids, and there's a sign, another sign in the Jimmy Fund clinic. It said, God made only so many perfect heads. The rest of them have hair on it. Turned a negative into a positive. That's what these kids are thinking, right? They turn a negative into a positive. We're going to help these kids out. We're going to help them out. See, these 2 little kids, his name is Brendan, her name is Tara. I didn't know who they were. The Jimmy Fund said, hey, they're going to support you. And they did, for years and years and years. Then I lost touch. I didn't think they made it, but they did. I found them a year ago on Facebook. Brendan's living in Rhode Island, nice young man. Tara's living in Florida. And I said, it works. These kids had guts to say, I'm going to beat this, and they beat it. And they beat it with the help of a lot of people like you and your parents and other people. So I ran across America. Here I am in the desert. It was about 120, 130 degrees in the desert, running over the Rocky Mountains and everything else. So I was the original Forrest Gump. I don't know why he gets all the credit. Anyways, the original Forrest Gump, running across America, right? So I'll continue on. 80 days it took. I started ceremonially in the Kingdome in Seattle and finished in Fenway Park on August 29th, 1978.
Mariners face the Boston Red Sox. The highlight of this pregame program will be the entrance of David McGilvray.
David McGilvray, who is 24 years old.
He ran coast to coast to raise money for the Jimmy Fund.
Coast-to-coast run from Medford, Oregon to Medford, Massachusetts.
He has just run 80 days, averaging 43 miles a day. At Fenway Park greeting for Dave McGilvray.
Across the finish line, after my 3,452-mile run across the country, was not just personal accomplishment, but there were people who finally gave me a chance in life. I want to teach other people that when they are being rejected by others or themselves, that there's always another avenue to take. And that's the sort of motto that I live by all my life.
So I did that, went on Good Morning America. The moderator says, hey, that was pretty good what you did. You ever think of doing that again? I looked at him like he had 3 heads. Why would I do this again? I've done it about 3 or 4 more times. Why? Because I don't want to live off the past. I don't want to live off my laurels, my accolades. I want to get out there and continually set goals. So that's what I did. And I went to Hawaii, did the Ironman triathlon in Hawaii, 2.4-mile rough open ocean water swim, 112-mile bike ride, and a marathon, all done back to back to back in one day in Hawaii. I did it in 1980, then I went back in 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, and 89. Did it 8 times in the 80s. And then I ran up the east coast of America with this guy named Bob Hall. Bob pushed a wheelchair 1,522 miles up the entire eastern seaboard, to raise money, again, for the Jimmy Fund. And then I ran the Boston Marathon one year, and I did it for the Carroll Center for the Blind, where my brother worked. And I did it blindfolded to raise money and awareness about visually impaired. And I finished, and here's 2 guys guiding me the whole way. I've run 157 marathons, and that's the only one I don't remember, because I didn't see it. But I only heard it, right? So these 2 guys, I ran 3 hours, 14 minutes blindfolded, and I could have run much faster. I was in much better shape, but those 2 guys couldn't run any faster. So I learned about dependence and independence. Basically, I learned about taking care of myself. You know who the most important person in this room is right here, right now? It's you. It's you. The whole idea is to take care of yourself. Then I did a 24-hour run, finished at halftime of a New England Patriot football game in what's now called Gillette Stadium. Ran 120 miles in 24 hours. Again, all this to raise money for those who are less fortunate. People say to me all the time, you do all these different things, what's your greatest accomplishment? My greatest accomplishment is my next one. It's like, what do you got for me lately? I just don't want to live off the past. Then I put on a marathon inside Fenway Park. If I can't play second base at Fenway, man, I'm going to run in there. Ran 113 laps around the warning track. Finished a whole marathon inside Fenway Park a couple of years ago. Then I did this thing called the World Marathon Challenge. What is it? 7 marathons, 7 days, 7 continents. Ran a marathon in Antarctica, get on a plane, flew to Cape Town, South Africa, get on the plane, flew to Perth, Australia, Dubai in Asia, Lisbon, Portugal, Cartagena in South America, and finished in Miami. 7 marathons, 7 days, 7 continents. Here we are in Antarctica, running on the ice in Antarctica, finishing up, getting a bunch of medals, big deal. So then last year was the 40th anniversary of my run across the country, and I came back to Medford. And they put this stone monument right at the base of City Hall. It's there right now. And again, coming back. How many times in these slides right now have you either heard or seen the word Medford? A lot. I didn't put it in here for this presentation. I do this all over the country. Medford is so important to me. And for them to do that for me was pretty amazing. Medford, Oregon heard about this. I'm flying out there in February. They're going to do the exact same thing on the stairs of City Hall in Medford, Oregon in a couple of months. Pretty amazing. And here I am that day, last year, running into Fenway Park again with 2 other Jimmy Fund Clinic kids. People say to me all the time, what do you want to be when you grow up? I said, well, what makes you think I want to grow up? But yeah, I saw this billboard right out here on 93, and I said, that's it. That's what I want to be. Not a Girl Scout. I know what some of you are thinking. No, an accomplisher. All I want to do is accomplish things. Set goals, work hard, earn the right, and accomplish things, right? So here I am finishing at night. So lessons learned to wrap this up. I've learned that there are no mistakes, only lessons, and that the failed experiments are as much a part of the process as the experiment that ultimately works. What that means is that there's only one way in this world that you could fail, is if you don't try. Because if you try and don't accomplish everything you want, it's called a learning experience. Don't ever say, I'm afraid to do that, I might fail. Well, you just did by not trying, all right? We should always live our dreams, and people who say it cannot be done should not interrupt those who are doing it. There are some people who say, you can't do that. Don't let them deny you the opportunity of being able to do it. So I wrote a book called The Last Pick, for obvious reasons. People say to me all the time, what's your book about? I said, it's about the person reading it. All of you are in this book. What do you mean by that? Well, it means that you can identify with this. You're sitting there going, yeah, I've been through that kind of thing. That's happened to me before. It's just, how have you processed it? How have you responded to it? Then I wrote the book, Dream Big. And I have a challenge in the back of the book. I don't want people just to read the book, put it down, and go play a game of ping pong. I want there to be a call to action. Read the book, and then I want you to do 26 miles over 26 weeks, read 26 books, and do 26 acts of kindness. And guess what? Magic's gonna happen. You're gonna feel good about yourself. Because that's the very foundation by which we accomplish anything in our lives, is to feel good about ourselves. So, 26 miles, health and fitness. 26 books, education. 26 acts of kindness, giving back. Because when you give, you receive even more in return. And I just wrote the book called Running Across America. It was funny, I launched it at Fenway Park a couple of months ago, and someone came up to me and says, "What's your book, Running Across America, about?" I said, "It's about planting tulips." It's about running across America. People are great. We should always set goals, not limits. And the worst injustice you could ever do to yourself is to underestimate your own ability. So, and the last thing is, there's no such thing as an individual accomplishment. You could run a race, get a medal, you could accomplish something, you can get all A's in classes. That's all great. That's all great. But you didn't do it alone. There's always a support team. There's always your teachers. There's always your coaches. There's always your parents. There's always your siblings. There's always your friends. There's always a team. There's always a team. And always be appreciative of what they have done to help you cross that finish line. So, peace of mind. I've also learned that no matter where in this country my car breaks down, I'll be able to run home. That's a good lesson. So, I should expect to pass through this world but once. Any good things, therefore, that I can do, and any kindness that I can show a fellow creature, let me do it now. Let me not defer, not neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. What does that mean? That means don't procrastinate. You know, every day's a gift. Every one of us in this room have one thing in common. I don't even know most of you. But we have one thing in common. You know what it is? We woke up this morning. Not everyone else did. You had nothing to do with that. But what happens during the rest of the day is in your hands. Make the most of it. Every day's a gift. See this little girl right here? Her name is Katie. She called me up one day. She says, "Hi, my name is Katie. Can I come see you at the Boston Marathon office?" I said, "Sure." She comes in and she's in a wheelchair. I looked at her and my jaw dropped. She was 36 inches tall. And she said to me, "I have a question to ask you." I said, "What's that?" She said, "Could I run the marathon?" I said, "You want to run the marathon?" She said, "I want to run the marathon." I said, "Ask me a difficult question." She said, "I can?" I said, "Yeah, you can run the marathon." She said, "Well, I have a caveat." I said, "Well, what's that?" She said, "Well, my marathon's 26.2 feet. I said, "Okay, 26.2 feet. I barricaded 26.2 feet from the starting line to about that wall. She come out in her wheelchair and she gets in her walker. Here she is. Gets in her walker and she did the 26.2 feet in front of 30,000 other runners, helicopters flying, media all over the world, and she did it. I put a laurel wreath on her head and a medal around her neck, you know, and I gave her a big hug. She did it. Then I'm running my marathon 9 hours later, and I'm crossing the finish line, and I look, and there's one person waiting for me, little Katie. She put a laurel wreath around my head that she made, and a medal around my neck that she made. And she looked up at me, and she says, "Ha, I beat you." Little Katie passed away about 6 months after this. But she ran the Boston Marathon. Her game, her rules. And don't forget the most important thing in life, family. And here's this little boy, his name is Jack Middlemas. Jack's brother, Joe, died of cardiomyopathy at age 7. Jack was born with the exact same thing, a broken heart. A broken heart. Jack and I became heart warriors. I'll tell you why. All of a sudden, I'm out a few years ago running, and I could feel a difficulty in my chest. What the heck's going on? Went to Mass General Hospital. Had echocardiogram, stress tests, EKGs, pulmonary tests. They said, "No, we can't find anything. There's nothing wrong." I said, "What do you mean there's nothing wrong? I can't breathe when I'm running." I said, "You got to give me the big boy test. Look under the hood." So they did. They did a CAT scan and an angiogram. The doctor comes in and he goes, there. I said, "There what?" He said, "You have severe coronary artery disease." I said, "How can I have severe coronary artery disease? I just went across the country a couple of times and 150,000 miles, and I am in triathlons." He says, "You have it." I said, "Okay." "Genetics?" "Yeah." "Self-inflicted?" "Probably." I broke some rules, folks. Maybe I always thought the furnace is hot enough, it'll burn. I can eat anything I want. Wrong. Sleep? I thought sleep was overrated. I wanted to get the most out of every day, so I didn't sleep much. Wrong. Stress. A lot of stress, right? You put on yourself. So I said, "I'm changing everything." And I turned to the doctor and I said, "I have one question to ask you." He said, "What?" I said, "Is this reversible?" And he said, "Depends." I said, "Depends on what?" He said, "Depends on the person." I said, "Well, it's me, right here." McFly, I'm right over here. He says, you with your discipline? I think it is. I said, well, sign me up. Well, I went on a tear. I changed everything. I said, I have to stay here. I have a lot more work to do. I want to give back more. And I changed everything. I lost 27 pounds, lowered my cholesterol level by over 100 points, and reversed my own severe coronary artery disease by over 40%. And I went back to Hawaii and did the Ironman again. I did the Ironman again. And then I went and did the World Marathon Challenge. And it was funny because when the doctor was telling me what I had, I said this to him. I went like this. He goes, what? I said, zip it up. He said, what do you mean zip it up? I said, don't tell anyone. He said, why? I said, because this is embarrassing. I'm ill. You know, I'm not supposed to be ill. I thought I was invincible. And I said, it's a ding in my armor. I don't want anyone to know. And then all of a sudden, it leaked out. People started finding out. People started writing me saying, hey, I heard about what happened to you. If it can happen to you, it can happen to me. I went to the hospital, had 3 stents. You saved my life. I thought, whoa, I saved his life, my goodness. I said, it's all about awareness. It's all about sharing. It's all about giving back. So I said, okay, fine. I'm going to give back, and that's what I'm going to do. And then all of a sudden, 3 years later, I could feel the difficulty again, and the doctor said, it came back. And I said to the doctor, I said, well, the marathon's in 6 months. I said, what do you think? Before he did the surgery. And he said, well, he didn't say no, he didn't say yes. He said, I would be extremely disappointed if you couldn't do the marathon. I said, okay, let's go. So I had open heart triple bypass surgery a year ago. And I said, I'm going to recover and I'm going to do Boston. And I did in April. Finished the Boston Marathon 6 months after triple bypass surgery. This little boy, his name is, again, Jack Middlemas, he had a heart transplant. I had open heart surgery, he had a heart transplant. Here he is, running the last couple 100 miles with my son across the finish line of the Boston Marathon in April. Look at him giving me my medal at the finish line with his dad in the background. So at the end of my life, I'd like to think I gave everything I had and then some, until I simply run out of time, which I know I have just about now. But one last thing before I let you go. I know there's a young man amongst you, your peer, who's up against the challenge himself. And I'd like Derek to come up here for 1 second, if you don't mind, Derek. So, Derek, I'm going to give you this medal. And this medal basically is going to signify strength, perseverance, that you're going to get through this. And once you get the sign of good health, I want you to mail that one back to me. My address is on the back. Mail it back and we'll give it to someone else. I want to give him a personal autographed copy of Running Across America. And Derek, dream big. I want to see you again very soon, healthy, and maybe running the Boston Marathon someday. Let's hear it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody, for being such a wonderful audience. Let's give Mr. McGilvery a wonderful round of applause. What a great, inspiring talk to all of us. Thank you. What an inspiration. Welcome back to Medford. You're always very welcome. It's such great things to always welcome back the people that graduate from the Medford Public Schools and want to achieve, in my view, the highest pillar of them all, which is to give back. So thank you once again, Dave. And thank you. I hope everybody has a great, wonderful rest of the day.